अभी नहीं बोला मैंने आने को तेरे को, तो जून संग के बाद ही आना। बाकी उसके साथ ट्राई करना तो दूसरी बात। इंटरनेट नहीं है मेरा अभी।
Good morning and warm welcome to you all. I am Vaibhav, your host for today. Our topic for today is Emergency Preparedness and Response, MSME Occupational Health and Safety. It shall be taken by Mr. Umesh Chandra Tiwari. He shall cover general safety at workplace, fire, natural disaster and failure of management and equipment, causes of accident, emergency preparedness, mock-up drill, first aid and medical emergency, followed by question and answer session. Our agenda for today is virtual inauguration by Dr. Sundar Kataria, invoking the blessing of deity, chanting of Gayatri Mantra, introduction of speaker, presentation by Mr. Umesh Chandra Tiwari, question and answer session, and last closing session. About Sadgun Sangh, Sadgun Sangh conceived and led by Dr. Sundar Kataria, driven with the mission to elevate the quality, safety, and environmental awareness levels of industry. Sadgun Sangh is a series of educative, informative events aiming to illuminate professionals on possible solutions to current issues of industry and economy. About Dr. Sundar Kataria, designation organization, Chairman and Managing Director, International Certification Services Private Limited. His academic qualification, Doctorate in Business Management, followed by Mechanical Engineer. His experience are Rajasthan Atomic Power Project, India's first nuclear power plant at Rawatbata, Kota, built by Indian engineers. Worked as nuclear scientist for 11 years and successfully completed and commissioned the plant. EIL, first batch of engineers to develop Bombay High Offshore Oil and Gas Fields, Mega Offshore Complex Platform, trunk and submarine pipelines, underwater inspection, oil and gas equipment, etc. DNV, world largest classification society, worked for 17 years at various capacity for the certification of fixed offshore installations, submarine pipelines, onshore projects, and personnel qualification. ICS, he is founder of India's first certification conformance assessment body established in the year 1999, provider of total quality solution. Certification of Management System, ISO, inspection, testing, and training qualification of personnel. His achievements and awards are receive Lifetime Achievement Award for the contribution for the corrosion technologies from NES International by NIGIS under NES USA. Social worker for the protection of life, asset, environment, and safety. So now I request Kataria sir to please virtually inaugurate the session.
शुभं कुरु त्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शत्रुबुद्धिविनाशाय दीपज्योतिर्नमोऽस्तु ते दीपज्योतिर्नमोऽस्तु ते शुभं कुरु त्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शुभं कुरु त्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः.
Please join us for the recitation of the Gayatri Mantra. Introduction of our today keynote speaker, Mr. Umesh Chandra Tiwari, his designation and organization, he is a consultant. His academic qualification are BTech, followed by lead auditor, quality management system, environmental management system, and occupational health and safety management system. His experience are conducted over 150 plus surveillance audits and certification in QHSC, providing consultancy over 200 plus companies, QEHS manager at Messrs. ZCJ Industrial Private Limited at Greater Noida, freelance IMS lead auditor, trainer, technical consultant, quality engineer at Messrs. Shrishti Machineries Private Limited, technical executive cum QMS lead auditor at Messrs. Elite Certification Private Limited at Noida. Please welcome Umesh sir. Over to you, sir.
Yes, good morning to all.
Good morning, sir.
Okay, as introduced Mr. Babuji, myself Mr. Umesh Tiwari and working as a lead auditor, trainer and technical consultant also. And also by qualification, I am a mechanical engineer and by profession, I am also a lead auditor as well as a consultant for the ISO 9001, 14001, 45001 and many others ISO standard as well as BIS standard and EN standard also. And I have also worked with various manufacturing industries as well as certification body also. Today, I am honored to be your speaker. First, I would like to thanks ICS Technology for the hosting this event and making it possible to me and to all. Today, I will explore the importance of workplace safety, the benefit of applying emergency preparedness and emergency response plan into your organization. I am confident that you all participants will get the most out of the courses by fully enjoying the webinar. Now let us get start with the course with the emergency preparedness and response. I have to share my screen. Emergency preparedness and response. I think all of you are aware with this point. Like if you are working in any organization or any site maintenance things, in all organizations and in all sectors, the emergency preparedness and response will be applied. In that way, today I want to emphasize the importance of the emergency preparedness in our workplace. We all expect to come to work, perform our duties, and return home safely. This is the way you take care of your safety along with your protecting our lives and liveliness is crucial to ensure our safety and minimize disruptions to our operations. It is not just about responding to emergencies, but also preventing them from the happening in the first place. There are many type of like natural disaster and floods that it can be included in the natural disaster. Then also the first aid things, first aid and any type of physical or mental inability during the working that will be also included in the emergency preparedness and response. Power shortage, cyber security threats that will be also included in the emergency preparedness and response. But the main concern will be our topic is the hazard risk and case of accident, higher natural disaster, first aid and other medical emergency, spillage and cleanup action, All these things I will cover in this course. First, I have to introduce to you like from the emergency preparedness and response. Emergency preparedness and response means EPR involves planning and actions taken to prevent, mitigate, respond to, and recover from potential emergencies or disasters. What will be the comprehensive overview for the emergency preparedness and response? In them, for the that will be divided into two parts. First one is the you have to take care for the emergency preparedness. Once you completed the emergency preparedness, then you have to work on the emergency response, how you will respond during the emergency. Then first I have to cover the emergency preparedness. In the emergency preparedness, like risk assessment, first thing is the risk assessment. I have to identify potential hazard like natural and technological and human cost, what will be happen in the potential hazard. For that you have to identify the HERA, hazard identification and risk analysis. You have to cover all the things related to that work activity site. Then in the second thing, you have to include the emergency response plan, ERP. You have to develop and document procedures for the emergency preparedness plan. Second thing, you have to include training and awareness. Means first you have to include, you have to prepare a plan, you have to identify the hazard and risk analysis, and then you have to aware your employees through the training and awareness. Then fourth thing will be the resource allocation. In resource allocation, you have to also provide the different type of resources that will be important for the safety purpose, like ensure the necessary equipment and personnel and as per your budget. Then fifth part will be the communication. In the communication, you have to establish notification and coordination protocols, like how you will communicate the emergency procedures to your employees, how they will act during any type of emergency, where they will assemble during any type of emergency. All these things you have to include in the communications. Mainly communications responsibility will be with the EHS, Environment, Health and Safety Officers. Means Environment, Health and Safety Officer will communicate all the things related to health and safety response. Then once you have completed the emergency preparedness, then you have to work for the emergency response. How you will respond during any emergency. Like alert and notification, activate ERP upon emergency detection. ERP means emergency response team will activated, and initial response will be the first responders take actions. Example, firefighting, first aider, all these responder will take the actions. Then third one will be the damage control. How you will control the damage? You have to plan that first, then contain and mitigate the emergencies impact. Your employees, your personnel during the work. You have to ensure personal safety and accountability. Then communication. Inform stakeholders and authorities and media after completing the fourth part of the evacuation. Then what will be the emergency response phases? In the emergency response phases, there are four type of phases. First, you have to take the action for the prevention. Means you have to give effort for the prevention. Means prevent or minimize the emergency occurrence. You have to take action to minimize the occurrence of the emergency. Then you have to take the second action for the preparedness. In the preparedness, you have to take the plan and prepare for the potential emergencies. Then third one will be the response. Take immediate action during an emergency. Means if there is any type of emergency, then you have to take immediate action. As a if you are working as a safety officers, then this is your responsibility to respond during the emergency, and you have to one you have to cover will the recovery. In the recovery, the restore normal operations and mitigate long-term effect. Now, development of the plan for emergency response will include following consideration. You have to include these following consideration during the development of an emergency response or emergency plan. First, identification of expected emergencies. You have to identify the expected emergencies, which type of emergency can occur during at the workplace. You have to identify this one. Also, you can complete the hazard identification risk analysis index. In that, you have to identify all the possible hazard and risk. Then experience from previous accident and emergencies. If there is any type of previous accident or incident occurred in your organization, then from that you can also take lessons during the preparation of the emergency response. Then requirement of resources to meet emergencies. What resources will required to meet the emergency situations? How you will fight with the emergency situations? What type of resources you have to require? You have to prepare the plan. Availability of local emergency services like fire tenders, ambulance, doctors, and nearest hospitals. All these things you have to evaluate. First, you have to display a notice board, a display board that will include all the emergency contact numbers like fire tenders, ambulances, and doctors. And then you have to conclude the legal and other requirements. What the legal requirements you will follow if any type of emergency occurred. Also, communication procedures to employees. How you will communicate the procedure to your employee, and review of emergency and practice drill performed, and hazard identification and risk assessment. Now, task of administering and organizing the plan. What will be the task for the administering? Like, what will be the task for the safety officers and safety managers? How they will respond? The HSE officer is responsible for the emergency response operations. She has to ensure that everyone clearly understands their roles and responsibilities. Emergency resources, whether people or equipment, is kept at adequate levels depending on the progress or size of the works. Review the emergency plan on a regular basis, and especially after an emergency has occurred. Whenever any type of emergency occurred in your plant, in your organization, then you have to review your emergency plan, your emergency procedures, and if there is any type of amendment occurred, then you have to review or amend that procedures that are applied in your organizations. The little things to know means these are the little things related to the workplace safety, related to the emergency preparedness, like what is the hazard and what is the risk. Hazard is something that has potential to harm you, and risk is the likelihood of a hazard causing harm. In simple way, you can distinguish between the hazard and risk. Like, the hazard is that hazards have the potential to generate the risk. For example, like, if you are traveling on the road, if there is any type of dump, and you are, or maybe second example I can take, like, आप रोड पे चल रहे हो आप, और आपको कोई बाइक से ओवरटेक कर रहा है, मीन्स आप अगर आप अपनी कोई फोर व्हीलर से जा रहे हो, अगर आपको कोई ओवरटेक कर रहा है, देन ये आपका एक हजार्ड हुआ। बट हजार्ड के थ्रू जो भी आपको टेक्निकल, आपको कोई भी फिजिकल इंजरी आती है या आ सकती है, वो आपके लिए रिस्क हुआ। लाइक, अगर रास्ते में अगर आप जा रहे हो, कोई भी आपको गड्ढा है रास्ते में, तो वो गड्ढा आपके लिए हजार्ड होगा। एंड गड्ढे से गिर के अगर आपको कुछ भी इंजरी होती है, या गड्ढे से लग के जो भी आप गिरते हो तो वो आपके लिए रिस्क होता है. In that way, you can identify hazard and risk. Means hazard have the potential to generate the risk. Accident. What do you mean by accident? Accident is an undesired and unplanned event which cause or is likely to cause either physical harm like personal injury or damage to property and loss of time. Accident don't happen but they are caused because there is no previous planning for any accident. They can be caused, not happened. What is the safety? Safety is intended to bring about conditions free from risk or injury or the threat to our health and well-being. Now, what will be the emergency response procedure? How you will respond during any type of emergency? What will be your response? An emergency can be reported from any source, a worker on works, an outside agency, or the public. These are some basic actions you have to take during the emergency. Like first, the main important thing you have to stay calm. Your action can influence others and thereby add emergency response. Then means you have to take calmness during any type of emergency. Assess the situation. If you are working as a officers or any health and safety officer, then first is your responsibility. You have to assess the situations, determine what happened and what is the emergency, how the emergency is generated. All these things you have to assess during the emergency situations. And you have to take the command or control. The main HSFE or HSC officer, all health and safety officer must take charges and call or delegate someone to call emergency services and explain the situations. Now provide protection during the emergency, eliminate further loss and safeguard the area, aid and manage the errands for first aid and help those already doing so. Maintain contact during the emergency. You have to maintain contact with your safety officers, with the any emergency teams you have created before the planning. Keep emergency services are informed to the situations and also alert management and keep them informed. Guide emergency services. Meet services on work, lead them to emergency scene, explain ongoing and potential hazards and causes, instruct the employees to assemble at assembly point and count the heads. Means first as a safety officer you have to instruct all the employees, all the workers that they have to assemble at the emergency assembly point and you have to first count down the heads, how many persons are present, what is the attendance as per the attendance record, how all the persons are present or not. If there is any absence of any person, then you have to search for that person. Communications during emergency response. During the emergency response, siren will be below. In case of any crisis and periodicity of the sirens will be as follows. Cases of natural disaster, example earthquake and floods, short beep 3 times. In case of fire, short beep 3 times. In case of cases of accident, short beep 3 times. Any other emergency, short beep 4 times. This frequency you can also set as per your requirement. This is differ from company to company. This is not fixed that you have to just keep for the 3 times or 4 times. You can set these frequencies as per your consideration, as per your requirement. Now, disaster plan. First, the emergency preparedness plan. I have to consider the disaster plan. In the disaster plan, first I have to discuss about the fire accident. In case of the fire accident, what type of clearance you have to take care? First, the employees near the disaster site will go for a crash shutdown of the concerned area and the area will be isolated electrically. Second concern will be the persons available near the disaster site who has the knowledge of operating and appropriate firefighting fire extinguisher will immediately operate the same and direct others person nearby to leave the area. And security will stop all entries of personal materials at the main gate. During off hours, security will intimate about the crisis to the crisis management team members and to the relevant government body. In the case of electric shock and accident with the machines, the employees near the accident site will go for a crash shutdown of the concerned area and the area will be isolated electrically. The persons available near the accident site who has the knowledge of the operating the appropriate blanket will immediately operate the same and direct other persons nearby to leave the area and assemble in defined area and inform the control center. And also in this case, security will stop all entries of personal materials at the point of accident. The disastrous management team member will report to the relevant government body if required. This is the main responsibility. If any happening have take place, then the disastrous management team or safety officers will inform that incident to the government body. During off hours, security will intimate about the crisis to the crisis management team and members and to the relevant government body as per the requirement. In case of the earthquake and tremors, the sudden and violent tremors and earth movements radiating outwards from a localized point and violent release of pressures is the earth's crust is generally referred as an earthquake. It is advisable that each property must identify an open area within or near by the company which is easily acceptable to be used as assembly safe area during an emergency. An alternate assembly area will also be identified in case the designated assembly area is not approached or the unsafe or destroyed. In such a situation, there is a possibility of loss of life and damage of property. To establish the aftermath of the situations, these guidelines will be followed. You have to establish command center and assign personnel for the emergency response, make available mobile phone, arrange for ample of first aid suppliers. Summon your staff who are trained in first aid. Inform maintenance to arrange for switching of all gas, water valves. Do not panic and stay calm. Protect yourself by lying down under furniture available nearby. In case of non-availability of furniture, stand in the corners of the room and away from glass fixtures, sliding doors, and windows. This is the important aspect during any type of earthquake. Also, if you are in your home, you can follow this procedure to protect yourself from the earthquake. Watch out for falling object. You have to very clearly watch for any type of falling object. Grab anything handy to protect your head and face from the falling debris and splintering glass. Protect your feet from the broken debris or broken glass pieces. Do not panic if the fire alarm or sprinklers go off. Do not rush outside. Stand in corridors. Do not use elevators. elevators or lift. This is strictly prohibited in case of earthquake or any type of tremors. Look out for falling debris and proceed cautiously to open area. This is the normal thing. I think every person knows these things, but I have to just to remind you what type of careness you have to follow during the emergency like the earthquake. When you are outside the building, move away from the building, garage walls, power poles, and lamp posts. If possible, proceed cautiously to open area. Do not light matchsticks, cigarettes, or electrical switches. Go to pre-arranged assembly point. Whenever you are working any type of organization, then there is an emergency assembly point. If any emergency happens in your organization, then you have to assemble at the emergency assembly point. Like if you also in earthquake or any type of fire or any mishappening in your plant, then you have to assemble at that emergency assembly point. And also you have to follow the instructions of the your QHS officers, and if not found any type of instruction, then you have to wait further instruction from the emergency chief. Now, in the disaster plan, leakage and flooding. Leakage and flooding. The flooding may be due to heavy rains, rise in water levels in the sea, rivers. It could also be due to the blockage in the drainage system. Get prepared to avoid the consequences with the help of following methodologies. Check all the drainage pumps and carry out preventive maintenance timely. Ensure all flow drains, underground drainage pipelines are clear of mud and mulch. In case heavy rains and cyclonic weather are predicted, remain in constant touch with the local weather bureau, meteorological services. Portable fire pumps, sandbags, plastic bucket, water suction machines, barricades, which will be used for cleaning the water in the flood situation, will be stored in a place where it is easily accessible and will not be in a low lying area. We have to take precautionary measures to ensure that all windows are closed and sealed during heavy rains or winds. Ensure that all other outer fittings and fixtures are safe and secured properly. Avoid parking of stop vehicle under the trees and lamp post etc. Now, functions and responsibilities of disaster management team member. What will be the responsibilities and what will be the functions for the disaster management team member? First, responsible to follow the crisis management plan in case of any crisis. To coordinate with the government bodies, inform higher management about the crisis, responsible for making people aware of the crisis management plan, and safety officers is responsible to conduct periodic mock drills also. You have to conduct periodic mock drill maybe in 6 months or yearly, like the fire mock drill and other mock drill also included. But you have to also conduct for the disasters management for the like earthquake or any type of storm. Emergency assembly point. I think all of you are aware about the emergency assembly point in each and every organization. There is an emergency assembly point to gather all the work professionals in case of any emergency. Emergency assembly point will be clearly marked by a conspicuous signboard, and all the employees are supposed to assemble here to ensure availability of all employees. First aid and a medical emergency. First aid given to an individual before the professional medical team arrives in terms as first aid At any given time, there are a large number of individuals present in the company premises which are susceptible to sickness and injuries. It is therefore necessary that maximum number of company It is therefore necessary that maximum number of company employees is aware of the first aid guideline. Some of the occasions where the first aid can be administered are as follows. Like in the case of wounds, like if you are working and you have got injured with the heavy wounds, then what the instructions you have to follow. The stop the bleeding by any of the following methods. In case of wounds, by the direct finger pressure in case of large bleeding wounds. Avoid touching the wounds with hands or unsterilized materials. Clear the wound with the running water and surrounding area with soap or spirit using clean gauge washing away from the wound. Apply ready-made adhesive gauze, bandage or sterilized gauze and roller bandage as required. Keep the patients quiet and give no stimulants. Never apply antiseptic ointment or lotions or iodine or germicides to the open wound. In case of the shock, lay the patient on his back, stop bleeding if any, relieve pain by supporting injured part, keep the patient comfortable but do not cause sweating. Fluids may be given in a small amount unless the patient is nauseated, unconscious, likely to be operate or has an abdominal wound. Reassure and cheer up the patient. In the case of abdominal wounds, keep the patient flat, give nothing by mouth, maintain warmth. If intestines protrude from the wound, do not attempt to touch or replace them. Apply sterile dressing and bandage to the wounds. Provide careful and immediate transportation to the hospital. Now, another type of and aid emergency first aid emergency like the electric shock. In case of electric short, put the main switch or detach the individual from the source of electricity by using insulated material. Make rapid examination of the individual. Rush to the hospital immediately. In case of eye wounds, do not apply oil or ointment to the eyes. Removal may be attempted if foreign is not embedded. If there is a foreign body embedded in the eyeball, send the individual immediately to the doctor after applying pad and loose bandage to the patient. Chemical ones on the eyes, immediate washing of the eyes at least for 15 minutes is of great importance. Apply a sterile bandage and send the individual immediately to the doctors. In case of back injury, transport and rigid frames, this frame may be improvised by using available board or a door. The rigid frame may be placed on a stretcher for transportation. In neck fracture cases, it is much better to get a doctor to the scene. In case of snake bite, you have to consider the calm and reassurance the patient. Wash and cool the wound with soap water. Tie a string to pressure block the blood flow towards the head. Take to a doctor immediately. Now, for the inhalation, if the victim is conscious, remove him in fresh air. If the victim is unconscious but breathing, lay him down in the position mentioned above and give oxygen at low pressure until the arrival of the doctor. If breathing has stopped, quickly stretch him out on the ground on a blanket if available. Loosen is his collar and start artificial respiration without delay with administration of oxygen and continue until the arrival of the doctor. First aid and medical emergency in the first aid boxes. First aid box is available in the plant with necessary machine and materials. First aid box along with following prescribed material has been provided in the plant like cotton, bandage, Dettol, tincture iodine, Bernol, antiseptic cream, eye drop. Now, in the case of spillage, in the case of spillage, any chemical or any type of spillage, what type of concern you have to follow? Then no chemical will be dumped or leaked onto the ground or allowed to run off a production site that might cause pollution. A pollution incident may be any unauthorized discharge or emissions to air, land, or water which could impact the surrounding environment or local residents. Guidance in the control of pollution incident. If spilled materials are flammable, eliminate source of ignition from near the spill. If it can be performed safely, stop the source of the spill and contain the spill, preventing also the spill to go into drains, if any. If the spill is small or minor, means less than 10 liter and is not an environmentally sensitive area, the soil will be immediately cleaned up by on-site personnel and the material used to clean up the spill will be properly disposed of. Are the large spills? If the spills is more than 10 liter or spills threatening environmentally sensitive area, example for the wetland area, water courses, contact the necessary relevant authorities. The area needs to be secured and a control perimeter to be established at a safe distance from the spill. Now, cleanup actions. What cleanup actions you have to follow? Use chemical resistance PPE during cleanup activities. Gasoline and gasoline vapors are highly flammable. Remove sources of heat, spark flame, friction, and electricity. Gasoline vapors may create an explosive atmosphere. Spill cleanup wastes must be placed in proper waste containers and properly labeled. Diesel fuel and gasoline cleanup waste will be disposed of as hazardous waste. Diesel fuel and gasoline cleanup waste that contains free flowing liquid will be drained to remove as much of the free flowing product as possible. The free product removed from the waste must either be recycled or, if not recyclable, disposed as a hazardous waste. Spills of acids, caustics, or other dangerous chemicals outside of contained area will be bonded with absorbent clay or soil to prevent liquid from reaching storm sewers or bodies of water. Trained off-site subcontractor personnel will perform the cleanup of large amount of free liquid. Now, why do we need safety? A serious workplace injury or death changes lives forever for families, friends, communities, and co-workers too. Human loss and suffering is immeasurable. What is the importance of safety? You can you can consider by this picture, like if you are going to work in any organization or any plant, then you have to take care of your safety. You have to work very seriously, because if there is any type of unhappening with you, then like this picture, your family is waiting for you. That's why you have to clear an image like this to protect yourself, to work very safely, because the workplace safety is very important for you as well as your family, and as well as for your organization also. What will be the result of the accident? That may be personal loss as well as organization or company loss also. In the personal loss, physical, money, family affected, time loss, current job, mental stress, individual future scope, and many more. And in the company loss will be the workman, business, money loss, time loss, medical, new recruitment, company title, legal requirement, and on many more things are there. Typical personal protective equipments you can follow is like the hand gloves, face, eye for the glasses and goggles, ear for the earplugs, ear muffins for the lungs, mask and respirator, and head for the head. You have to use hard hat. What could happen in case of the near miss? You will get resulted from the minor injury, but in the case of the major injury, you have to be resulted for the death. For that, I have planned. Second thing is that you have to how you will identify what type of risk is there, what type of hazard is there. Then I have to just in the second part I will to teach you what will be the importance of the HIRA, hazard identification and risk analysis, and how you will identify the hazard identifications. I'm just sharing you some metrics regarding to the hazard identification, and here I will explain you how you will identify the HIRA.
Hello.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yes, Bepho.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, just I am just sharing another screen to identify some more things. Okay.
Okay, okay.
I'm to time for the 11, 12:30.
Sir.
Yes. Yes, this is you for your awareness only. Then how you will identify the HIRA in any type of workplace. So if you are working, in any organizations, or if you are working at any plant, then what will be the process and what will be the procedure for follow considering the hazard identification and risk analysis. In that, hazard consequences, probability factor, severity factor, risk level, risk rating, and control measure. Like for example, I have taken one activity in any organization like loading of store of material, unloading of store of material. Then you have taken the activity like unloading of material. Then how you will identify the hazard? What will be the possible hazard for that type of activity like unloading of material, of store material? Here the hazard will be the rough and uneven surface. That is the one type of hazard you have to identify. Second one will be the fall of materials or wrong lifting method. That will be the second type of hazard you have to identify. Like losing balance due to uneven loss of surface, absent mindedness or hurry. That all are the hazard you have to identify. Maybe any other hazard also you have to include it. Then that will be depend upon person to person, company to company, and also what is the scope of the work, scope of the activity. On the behalf of that, you have to identify the different type of hazard. Once you have identified the hazard, then you have to consider the consequences. What will be the consequences for that hazard? Like the activity unloading of the store material, you have identified these type of hazard, and then here you have to identify the consequences. Here the consequences are the personal injury, back pain for the fall of material or wrong lifting method. If the wrong lifting method, then you have to get injured or get the back pain. For these fourth and sixth, fifth, that will be the personal injury. Here, how you will identify which level of the hazard. The hazard level is low or moderate or medium. For that, you have to identify the probability factor and severity factor. On the behalf of that, you have to identify the risk rating and control measure. For that, consequences like personal injury, you have to identify probability factor through a SOP, standard operating procedure. I am showing you one example or only a process for the SOP, but after that you can generate from your own SOP for the to count the probability factor and severity factor. 1 minute, I am just sharing you the procedure, how you will count the probability factors and severity factors. Yeah, like this, you have to follow the procedures. And from here, I am just to like this one. This is the matrix, how you will calculate the probability factors. Probability factors is counted from 5 to 0. And that will be the probability. Like the is the always whenever the work is taken up, you have to take the 5 points. If the continuous are frequent, more than once per week, you have to take the fourth number. If more than once per month, you have to take three number, and more than once in 6 months, you have to take two, or more than once in a year, then one, and never then zero. These probability factor is your personal consideration. You can construct your own procedures by your personal consultation, or also this is depend upon work activity as well as what type of organization, what type of activity is performed. On the behalf of that, you have to take this decision for the probability. From here, you have to choose the probability, and in the table here, in the probability factor, you have to take this number. Like in the personal injury, here hazard is the rough and uneven surface and unloading of material. Then here, for any organization, I have taken two number. Two number means more than once in a 6 month. If the probability is more than once in a 6 month for this activity, then I have taken two number. For the severity factors also, I have taken here 5 to 0 counting for the permanent partial disability with hospitalization or death, LTI or fatality, then I have taken 5 marks. For the injuries resulting in more than 3 days of work, LTI, then I will take 4 mark. For the injury resulting in 1 to 10 days of work, RWC, then that will be the 3. And minor injury with medical attention, then you can take the 2 mark. And minor injury with no medical attentions, you can take 1 mark. And if there is no any harm, then you can put 0 also. Then that is the severity. How severe is the hazard? There are two factors. One is the probability, how the probable is the occurrence of the hazard, and second one is the how the severe is the hazard. Then this is the mark depend upon the severity of the hazard. From here, you have to choose 1 mark. Like for here, for the severity factor, I have taken 2. For example, I have taken 2. That may be different for different type of organizations, but here I have taken 2 mark. And by going to that procedures, here 2 means more than 2 means minor injury with medical attention, MTC. Minor injury with medical attention, I have taken 2 mark. Then you have to generate a table for that. By this table, like for the probability, I have taken 2, and for the severity also I have taken 2. Then from there I have to take result like 2 and 2. The intersect of 2 and 2 is this for this color, and I have to come to the result for that. For the 2 number, for this marking, for this color, white color, I have decided the risk rating 1 and risk level is tolerable. There is no action needed, but control may still be justified. Now I have to come to that matrix. On the behalf of that, I have taken the risk rating 1 and risk level is low. And control measure, careful unloading and use of PP. This is the just example for the understanding how you will identify the hazard identifications. Means you have to identify, you have to take one procedure. On the behalf of that, you have to consider the probability factor and severity factor. And by the help of the graph I have shown you, with this graph, you have to identify what is the level of the risk. On the behalf of that, you can identify this. Another example I can also take like operation of air compressors, using of trolley during the shifting. These are different things I have taken. For anything, you have to take the example like shifting of materials. For all this, the procedure and process will be same. Like first, you have to identify the hazard related to that activity. then what will be the consequences related to that activity, and what will be the probability factors and severity factor. These two things will be identified depend upon the company to company, factory to factory, and you have to follow the procedures for identifying probability factors and severity factors. Then what will be the risk level? For the risk level, you have to follow that procedures on the behalf of that procedures, and that graph. You have to identify the risk level and risk rating. This is all about the hazard identification and risk analysis. Now, Bebo,
Yes, sir.
yeah, this is clear from my side. If there is any questions from anyone, then they can raise their questions.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir, for your presentation and explaining topic in simplifying way. So now I request all the participants and delegates, if you have any question, you can unmute yourself and ask directly to the sir, or you can put your questions in the chat box.
Anyone having any questions or any doubt regarding emergency preparedness or hazard identifications, then you can ask me the questions. So chat box or directly you can.
Hello.
Sir, there is a question in the chat box from Ms. Dipti.
Yes.
What is incidents reporting and what
Yes,
are
incidents reporting means that if there is any kind of unhappening that you have to touch the accident, but you haven't followed, you haven't taken any type of property loss or any type of physical loss, then that may be considered as the incidents. And if there is any incidents occurred in your organization, then you have to report this one to your safety officers or what is the concerned officers in your organizations.
आपण ऑफिसमध्ये काम करतो.
Hello.
Hello. Yes.
सर, एज पर फैक्ट्री लॉ एक एक्सीडेंट रजिस्टर रहता है, ठीक है?
जी.
तो मतलब अगर हमारे पास इम्प्लीमेंटेड नहीं है तो जनरली उसमें एंट्री होता है अगर कोई एक्सीडेंट होता है वगैरह.
जी. जी.
इम्प्लीमेंटेड है तो वो केस में और इसमें क्या फर्क होगा? ये मतलब तो
इसमें सर
एक्सीडेंट तो दोनों केस में ये करना पड़ता है ना.
हाँ, नहीं तो सर एक्सीडेंट रजिस्टर तो आपको हर केस में अगर आपके यहाँ पे कोई भी अनहैपनिंग होती है तो एक्सीडेंट रजिस्टर तो आपको अपडेट करना ही पड़ेगा.
हाँ.
तो डिफरेंस किसमें पूछ रहे हो आप?
नहीं, अभी आप जैसा बता रहे हैं ना
जी. इंसिडेंस.
हाँ, इंसिडेंस ये एक्सीडेंट
सर
वगैरह.
इंसिडेंस ये हुआ कि आपका मतलब दोनों में डिफरेंस केवल इतना होता है कि एक्सीडेंट हुआ मीन्स आपका कोई प्रॉपर्टी लॉस हुआ या फिजिकल लॉस हुआ. इंसिडेंस हुआ मीन्स कुछ ऐसी अनहैपनिंग होने वाली थी जो बच गई. जैसे फॉर एग्जांपल आप फ्लोर पे चढ़ रहे हो, छत पे चढ़ रहे हो और आपके यहाँ पे बाउंड्री नहीं है. ठीक है सर, बाउंड्री नहीं है तो आप गए बट होते होते गिरते गिरते आप बच गए. तो ये आप इंटीमेट करोगे आपके ऑफिसर को कि अब इसको अगर उन्होंने कवर नहीं किया, कंट्रोल नहीं किया इसको, तो आगे चल के कोई सच में गिर सकता है, उससे एक्सीडेंट हो सकता है. तो सबसे पहले तो हमें ये देखना है कि इंसिडेंट क्या हुआ, एक्सीडेंट क्या हुआ। एक्सीडेंट हुआ कि डायरेक्टली फिर हमारा बॉडी लॉस हुआ या फिर हमारा प्रॉपर्टी लॉस हो गया। इंसिडेंस ये हुआ कि वो हुआ नहीं बट होने ही वाला था, हैपनिंग हुई नहीं। तो उससे हमें बचने के लिए कि फ्यूचर में कोई भी रियल में एक्सीडेंट ना हो, तो हमें उसे इन्फॉर्म करना होता है हमारे सेफ्टी ऑफिसर्स को कि उसको प्रिवेंट करें, या जो भी अनहैपनिंग होने वाली थी उसका क्या रीजन था, उसको हम कैसे जो है कंट्रोल कर सकते हैं। कि अगर हमारे यहाँ पे बाउंड्री नहीं है तो बाउंड्री लाइन हमें बनवानी पड़ेगी। और रिपोर्टिंग तो दोनों की होगी। रिपोर्टिंग, इंसिडेंट्स की रिपोर्टिंग का पर्पज ये होता है कि जो भी प्रॉब्लम थी उसको हम रिजॉल्व कर सकें।
ओके, ठीक है सर।
क्लियर है सर?
Hello. Hello.
यस, हेलो।
Sir, I want to ask a question. If
यस,
the risk is identified high risk, then what we have to take actions, if we have to change our procedure or process anything?
no control measure. You have to take the control. What control you have to take in? Not you have to change your procedures. Procedures is the fix, but you have to
Okay.
just identify your hazard or any risk. If you have identified that risk or any hazard is the high in the high level, then you have
Okay.
to maintain another OCP, operational control procedures, for that. If that is covered in your procedure, that operation, then this is good. If it not cover, maybe any hazard you have identified during the HERA, hazard identification or risk analysis, and you have seen that this is not covered in your procedures or in your OCP, then you have to construct any new SOP, operational control procedure, and you have to follow the guidelines given by the office safety officers, and all the things you have to cover in that, and that will be communicate to the personal department or the concerned department that are related to this hazard.
Okay. Okay, sir. Thank you.
Yes, any other? Yeah, one questions I have taken, like what is the legal regulations requirement for emergency preparedness and response. Legal requirement will be same for life. If you are following the occupational health and safety 45,001 standard or EMS standard, then the legal requirement, like you have to take the fire NOC from the fire department. We have to cover the fire department, and also you have the consent from the pollution control board. Like you have all the consent from the pollution control board or not, for the water pollutions, for the land pollution, and for the chemical. All these pollutions you have covered or not. And also if you are producing any hazardous things, then you have to take the approval from the different type of third party agencies to how you will dispose your hazards. All these are the legal regulations regarding to the emergency preparedness, as well as the ISO 45,001 also.
No, Tiwari,
Yes, sir. Yes.
very, very good afternoon. So, nice presentation, giving all the detail. However, my
Yes.
question still remains very much not in detail, because what happened, very few corporate group goes for OSHAs, and
Yes.
MSME, they don't go through it. I just want to know, in a factory act, any requirements are there that they should have emergency preparedness as a factory act or as a social responsibility of the small organization. What do you
Yes.
say about this? What is your experience on that one?
Sir, the
Because
emergency preparedness and response is, there is no part of the legal action. This is the actions that any organization have to follow in your workplace. But there are some specific considerations to comply this emergency preparedness and response. Like I have to take the different type of NOCs from the government bodies, and different like the fire NOCs, and different type of certifications like the fire from the pollution control board. All these things will include, but the emergency preparedness and emergency response is the particular things related to the only the organizations.
Mhm. Yeah, because they had to have as a part of social responsibility So they should have
Yes, yes, this is the part of social responsibility.
Yeah. And if you visit abroad or anywhere, all these buildings and malls and everywhere, there is the
Yes,
emergency preparedness are there. And plus there is also assembly point. In India,
yes,
I have yet to see in factories or in there's offices, even cinema halls.
yes,
We don't
yes,
find. Even many times I also get scared going to some of the cinema halls where there is no emergency escape routes.
yes, yes.
Generally, so
Emergency
many
evacuation
people,
plan. Yes,
yeah, there are so many occupants who are seeing the movies, and then there is only one exit.
yes, yes. That is very dangerous. There is. This is important
Yeah.
that you have to cover.
Even for the industries, also they should have proper. I feel
At
emergency
least
response is
two.
mandatory for all the organization because our factory acts are very old. That has to
Yes,
be revised with the new requirements.
yes, yes. For organization also that may,
I think you're coming
that
broken.
may cover for the large type of the buildings and activity in the large type of building or any simply covered within this.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. So I request participants, if you have any question, you can ask directly to the sir or you can put in the chat box. So I think, sir, there is no more questions. So can we
Yes,
invite?
Vaibhav.
Okay, thank you so much,
Yeah,
sir.
okay. Thank you. Thank you to all participants and Mr. Vaibhav.
ICS is provide to you all its research and development, integrated management system, QMS, EMS, and OHSS, excellence in education management, ISO made easy in Gujarati, Marathi, and Telugu. For reading any of the above book, please contact me, Shishma Kindalkar, on the given contact details. Feedback form, please register on www.sadgunsang.org and go in your login and give your valued feedback to us. So thank you, Umesh sir. Thank you all the participants and delegates for being the part of Sadgun Sang. Now it's time to officially close the session. Thank you everyone. Have a nice day.
Thank you.